Hello, welcome to UnQA. In this session, we are going to talk about the WSDL. So what is this WSDL? The WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. So why do we need to talk about this WSDL? And what is the importance of this WSDL with respect to SoapUI? And how come the WSDL helps us in validating and testing the SOAP protocols? So there are so many things that we need to learn and we need to implement in the SOAP UI testing. So let's go and learn step by step all about the WSDL. So let's get started. So before we go and talk about the WSDL, let's understand actually what is a web service. So while we understand the web service, then we would be able to understand the importance, the role of the WSDL file. So what is a web service? So web service is an application or it's a program, and web service does not have any UI. It is an engine where the engine takes input in the form of XML tags and it processes the data, and then it provides the output back again in the form of XML. It's a program, it's an application which would be available over the internet. And to understand more about it, so web services would allow us to expose the functionality, to expose the behavior, the methods of the program or the application. So once it is exposed on the network, the other applications could be able to use those functionality. And basically, the web services are of two kinds: the SOAP protocol based services and the REST protocol based services. So we would understand in detail what is SOAP and what is REST in the later sessions. But at this point of time, the web service is a program or an application which which contains certain methods, the services or certain functionalities which can be exposed on the internet. And there are two kinds of web services available globally: the SOAP protocol based services and the REST services. So let's go and understand now what exactly is the WSDL. The WSDL stands for a Web Service Description Language. So it is the standard format for describing any of the web services. Having said that, so web service description language is a language for describing how to interact and how to interface the services with the XML based formats. And when we say web services, the WSDL definition describes how we can access a web service and what are the different methods that the service can contain and what are the different functionalities that can be utilized from this service. So it talks about the in detail nature of the API. It talks about the in detail nature of the program. It talks about the in detail description, the documentation of the web service. So web service description language is a document which is completely written in the XML, and that XML describes a service with the methodologies, with the functionalities that can be exposed, that can be shared, that can be utilized over the globe. So that is the simplest way to understand what is a web service and what is the WSDL file. Now let's go and talk few more things now. So when we say WSDL, how does that WSDL look like? So if you look at the screen, there are two examples. One is the phone service. The other one is the e-card service. In the phone service, let's assume we have a lot of functionalities like calling a number, using WhatsApp, or saving a number into the contacts and sending a message. So a phone has got a lot of functions in it, and everybody has got a phone, and the way that we utilize the function, that method can be implemented or that function can be utilized. Similarly, when we talk about e-cart service, e-cart service would have a lot of functionalities in it. Examples like add to cart, update items in the cart, remove items from the cart, and update something in the cart. So there are so many methodologies. So all these methodologies put together and represent together, we call that file as the WSDL. So web service is an application or a program that contains various methods, various functionalities which can act, which can be shared, which can be working over the internet. And to represent and to access and to view these web services, the WSDL file is the format. The WSDL is known to be Web Service Description Language, which is a file which is called as a document which would help us to view the service in detail. It helps us to understand the different methods, the different functionalities, the different approaches available in the service so that we can make use of them wherever, whenever it is needed. So let me just go and help you to understand how really the web service and how really the WSDL file looks like. So let me just go and open up one of the API. So if you look at, so this is a simple calculator service. And this particular calculator service has got several methods like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And when we utilize this method or this particular service, the service is known to be the calculator service. So while we utilize this particular calculator service, then we can use or we can call or we can utilize any of the methods like addition method, the subtraction method, the multiplication method, the division method. And as we use these methods, we could be able to pass different parameters so that it can return the results from that method. So let me just go and execute this. Let me open up the Firefox browser and then let me just copy this. This is the URL which we are going to make use of that. Let me copy the URL. Once copied, now let me just go and run this piece of code. Now you could see there is an exception. Let me run the API now. And once we execute, you could see the calculator service is started. So as usually, let me copy the API URL and minimize this. Let's open the browser. And to represent and to show you the WSDL to the URL or to the API what we have copied with a question mark, let's say WSDL. Now it loads up the complete description, or rather we call this is the documentation about that particular service. In this service, it explains all the methods. If you look at subtraction, addition, division, and multiplication. And it also talks about parameters. It talks about the different methodologies. So in short, so this is the URL where this particular API is running to view in detail about the API, to understand in detail about this particular program or this particular service, the WSDL file would help us. The WSDL file is nothing but a documentation. So that would help us to view in detail all the methods, all the programs, all the services within the service or within the program or within the web service, so that we could be able to use any of the service that is required for us. So this is the way we have two important factors when we wanted to learn SoapUI. There are two important things that we must be sure about. One is the web service. The second one is the WSDL. So web service is a program or web service is an application which does not have any UI. You could see there is no UI. It's a pure documentation which is written in the form of XML. So this is nothing but the XML. You can see that it is XML file, and this particular XML contains the methods, the services, the programs, the functions, and to view in detail about all the methods in a program, in a web service, we need to represent that with a file, with a description, with a documentation. And that is so called WSDL. So WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language. As the name says, it would explain in detail all about the methods, the functionalities, or the documentation about the service. So these are the two important factors that we need to know and we need to understand, especially when we talk about the web services and the WSDL. Let me summarize it again. So web service is an application or a program. This particular web service does not have any UI, and it is pure a documentation written in the form of XML. It takes input in the point of XML, it processes that data, and also it retrieves and generates output again in the form of XML. And to explain more, the web services are methods which can be exposed, which can be shared, which can be worked over the internet. And there are two kinds of popular web services we have: the SOAP protocol based services and the REST based services. And to handle this particular SOAP based services, we have a documentation, we have a file called WSDL. So WSDL stands for Web Service Description Language, which is the standard format for describing any of the SOAP web service. And this particular WSDL file contains the documentation in the form of XML. And this particular WSDL would be able to help us to know the different methods, the functionalities which are part of particular program, particular web service. And all that we need, we read, we understand, everything is in the form of web services, in the form of XML data. So this is all about web service and WSDL. So this is the two examples that we looked at: the phone service and eCard service, and also we have looked at the other calculator service. So thank you so much. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked it. So in this session, to summarize, we have discussed and understood two important factors. One is the web service. The second one is the WSDL. So web service is a program. Web service is an application which contains several methods, which contains several implementations in it. And these web services would run over the globe, over the net, and we could be able to access these and utilize these whenever wherever required. And web services does not have any UI. All that web services would be represented and documented and be utilized in the form of XML. And to do that, there is a documentation called WSDL. So WSDL is the file format of the SOAP representation, so that we can use, we can see, we can view, we can understand the different methods of that particular service. So that is what we understood and learned clearly in this session. So thank you so much. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked it. So please visit earnq.com. There are so many videos, presentations, articles, books, and PDFs with respect to automation, test management, performance testing, and functional testing. So thank you so much and see you again.